miracle. There's nothing to beat a win at Wembley.
Black who's going to go for it. Black for the 1 point to win the grand final for Halifax, and he's done it. Ben Black strike.
Hello, welcome to another episode of Talking the Facts of Life, proudly sponsored by eclipseenergy.co.uk. It's the right time of year to get your boiler sorted, folks. So if you need to get your central heating nice, toasty warm, give them a shout. eclipseenergy.co.uk, sponsor the club, fans of the club. They'll see you right there. My name's Mike Egg, as always, and as always, once more, it's my fellow producer, friend, compadre, and fan, Mr. Rick Farrell.
Evening.
Are you well?
I'm very well, mate. Are you?
I thought you were. I'm bringing that catchphrase back. It's been a while since we've done one of these. We try and make it a little bit of a while before we do stuff, because we've actually got stuff to talk about, and boy have we got stuff to talk about now. All sorts of stuff. If you hear fireworks in the background, I apologise. It's Bonfire Night. Everyone's doing fireworks at the moment, but let's have some fireworks. Let's have some sparkling conversation, debate, and let's get straight into it. So, where can we start? Oh, I know, the little thing of Halifax aiming for Super League. Who'd have thunk it? Toronto, their place won't be taken up next year in Super League after all the problems that they've had. I think it's unfortunate. I think it's the wrong decision personally, but there we go, by the by, and it's a kind of a mini return to licensing, so get those baby changing facilities done down the Shea and all that sort of jazz. We've got to go for it, haven't we? That's the main thing. We've got to go for it. We've got to show ambition, haven't we?
Well, putting his name into the hat can't be a bad thing. It's not really clear at the minute, is it, exactly what the criteria will be for a short licensing, how long that'll last, and they're still sort of ironing out all the creases for that. But you've got to you've got to show some ambition, throw your hat in the ring, and you never know what could happen.
Of course, yeah, and then you've got to be in it to win it, and if you don't buy a ticket, you won't win the raffle, kind of stuff. And from what I've had mates and stuff on social media saying, it's like how with the calibre of player that we want to attract and are attracting, the likes of Greg Worthington and other signings we will come on to in just a moment. We won't be able to attract them if we've got no ambition for Super League. If we don't show that ambition there. And also, we've mentioned a sponsor of the club in terms of Eclipse Energy and that. How can you attract sponsors if we don't have that ambition to want to get to the highest level and all the perks and limelight that comes with it? And as a fan, you want to watch the best quality rugby. I want to see the best players down the Shea on that wonderful stadium you got in the background there, Rick. I want to see that. I want to see the international players in Super League. Don't get me wrong, I love Championship rugby. Championship rugby is brilliant. It's so underrated. It's untrue, but there's that level above, and obviously we're in lockdown again now, lockdown part 2, but obviously in lockdown part 1, watching the videos that the club released of the Super League days and stuff, and I want those big match atmospheres back. I want to be able to see like the best players in the world down the Shea, really, and seeing the shirts I've got behind me, Great Britain shirts, the amazing Fax Away shirt, they were for the glory days. I want those days back.
Absolutely, and if we get rejected as well, it gives us a bit of an idea of what we would need to improve to get to that level as well, where we would be considered for joining the higher league. So, yeah, either way, I don't think it's a bad thing. I myself have many fond memories of us smashing all the big teams and the little teams in Super League, and all the famous wins that we had, and sticking it to these teams that are so-called invincible now. We were one of the big boys once upon a time, so to be able to do that for the next generation of fans and to help bring in the next generation of fans, it's where we've got to be aiming. Everyone loves a winner.
Of course, yeah, and we've got to have that ambition, like going back to the players and stuff. How great would it be to have players who played with us in the Championship progressing to that level in Super League and having that pathway up? And also, like we mentioned time and time again on these podcasts, the youngsters, the young players who were playing for the likes of Siddle and Elland and Greetland and King Cross and all that sort of jazz. Like you look at Siddle and all their juniors are either going to Wigan, Leeds, Warrington, that sort of thing. How good would it be to have a player playing for Siddle, then going to Halifax and playing in Super League for Halifax, that'd just be absolutely amazing. And the way that we're going at the moment is great. We're taking small steps. We're building steadily, and we're going the right direction for it. And yeah, we might get ridiculed a little bit, saying, "Oh, little old Halifax" and stuff like that. But we've got to be there. We've got to show that ambition to make that next step up. I've kind of controversially kind of said I don't want to be a Batley or a Dewsbury. I don't mean any offence to them at all. Love Batley as a club. I think they're absolutely brilliant. They live within the means, but they live within the means. They've got that. They've no kind of ambition. They've no drive to make up to that next level. Halifax are completely different. We've had that kind of heritage in the not too distant past, really, and we want to get back to it. I don't want to say we're a sleeping giant or anything like that, because that over-eggs the pudding somewhat. But I think we need to progress in that stage, and we seem to have the right coach, the right group of players to take us to that level. Really, it's just that one final step of getting more bums on seats and feet on terraces to make that jump there. And what better way to do that than to have a club where we are reaching for Super League. We are saying, yeah, do you know what? Awful what's happened to Toronto, but let's go for it. Let's do it.
Absolutely. We should be taking a bit of a leaf out of the book that Lee had a few years ago. Lee sort of got a young British coach in, built a core squad of young local players that wanted to play for the club. Yeah, they did have maybe a money man that sort of underwrote it all, but they had a structure and a plan of how to get to Super League. They had a good core of championship players, and then they added a few stars into that, and they managed to finally get there. Obviously, they only stayed there one season, but they still achieved the dream of playing in Super League. So, yeah, just knowing the fact that there is a bit of a plan there, even if this is step one of 1,000, you've got to take that first step, haven't you? So, yeah, I think while I probably don't think we'll make it this time, like I said before, it's good to know where we need to be if we're ever going to do it.
Definitely. It's good to work with the powers that be to kind of want to get there, really, because unfortunately the way that the game's structured at the moment, it's very much a kind of a closed shop, really, or the people in the Super League or all the powers and stuff like that, as we've seen with Toronto going. I think I'm gutted for Toronto. That it hasn't worked, really, because not least for the players, because they've taken a risk to join that pioneering team and stuff. But the fans as well, it's a laughing point that they've got all these cardboard fans and stuff. We've met the Toronto fans that have been to the Shea, and you met Toronto fans been down in London. I met a load over in Toronto as well. They love live sport, and for the game to progress with the markets that could develop from having a successful Toronto team is massive. And I think the point that's got lost in all of this is, if coronavirus hadn't happened, if this awful thing we've gone through for the last 8-9 months hasn't happened, Toronto would have been there. I'm convinced that they would have stayed up, because they'd have won 3/4 at least of their games over in Toronto, and they were steadily improving. I think, was it the week before lockdown, they beat Huddersfield in the Cup, when Huddersfield were flying. So they were making strides there as well, and obviously Sonny Bill Williams was feeling his way back into the game, and all the players that are coming with it. It's a crying shame, really, and I hope they do kind of stay. If you come back into the Championship, I'd welcome them back with open arms, really, but I don't know how viable that is really yet. In terms of who takes their place, there's a few that have put the hat into the ring. There's the usual suspects there. There's Lee, Featherstone, jumped straight out the gun for it, Toulouse, and then ourselves. York make a good case. Bradford are there, but how ready they are, I don't know. They don't even have their own ground yet, so God knows how they're going to get in Super League. London as well, yeah. They all make good cases. I'll ask you a question kind of twofold, Rick. Who would you think deserves that spot in Super League, and who do you think will get it?
Good question. Personally, I always believe that promotion should be earned on the pitch.
Of course,
it's got to be something about sport. It's integral to having a fair and just competition, isn't it? Personally, I think they've been crying out for years on Sky Obviously, everyone knows next year's a TV contract renewal year, and it's very important. I think they've been crying out for a French derby. They invested so much into Catalan that I think Toulouse is the logical choice. They've been there or thereabouts. They've been a solid championship team. They're building. They've got a massive city with a massive catchment area that already has a bit of interest in rugby of the other codes. So I think you've got to go and give them and let them test if the theory of a French derby, a televised French Super League derby, would bring in extra revenue. So I think this is the year to do it. I think they've been trying to do it for a long time. Obviously, they didn't make it through the playoffs last year when Toronto won the grand final. But I think now's the time to do it, and I really think they will.
I agree. It's between two for me. It's between Toulouse and London. London, so unlucky to get relegated.
On points difference?
Last year when they did. On points difference. For a team to come up, an unfancied team, because no one expected London to go up, regardless, and then to go to Toronto, win that £1 million game, and then to only just lose out on points difference was an amazing achievement. The thing that, and obviously it's the broadcaster's wet dream to have a London team in Super League, because everything's down there really, and the job that Danny Ward and Jamie Langley underneath him are doing down there is a really, really good one. The only thing that kind of lets it down for me is the ground. The ground, love the little ground. It's brilliant with Ealing Trailfinders. It's brilliant for what it is. But when you compare it to the likes of Toulouse's stadium, well, they're not playing that falling down stadium at Blagnac. They've got the Rugby Union stadium now, which looks amazing. Does that ground? And let's say Leeds Sports Village. That's where they fall down, really. But I completely agree with you in terms of it's promotion relegation. That's what that has to be. And I hated licensing, but desperate times, special times call for special measures, deficit measures, and yeah, I have no qualms in Toulouse going up, because they've been working towards it. And as I say, outside eyes looking in, seeing a French derby, it could, because the thing that falls down for Rugby League, and it's strange that it was over in Toulouse last year that I kind of saw this, was on the weekend that we played, Toulouse Rugby Union were playing Leinster in the Heineken Cup, in the European Cup, over in Dublin, and that. All the bars were just absolutely packed out full of Toulouse fans and stuff like that. It was a massive, massive occasion, really. And if you get that opportunity to have a Toulouse-Catalan derby as well, you've got more European continental eyes looking at that and thinking, hang on, that works. Let's see if we can try it. And obviously, coming up to a World Cup year, it makes a lot of sense to have a bit more kind of continental action. Really,
but you can't give up on expansion of Toronto, because that's pretty much what's been done with that decision. And you really feel for the fans, the new fans to the game. And everyone at every level screaming at them on the way up. It's supposed to be a friendly family sport, but that's been tested, hasn't it, recently? But it's a beacon. Offering it to Toulouse is a beacon for other development teams. Like we've seen the one in Spain. There's been ones in like Ukraine and Poland and stuff. It gives them a chance to think. And keeps the dream alive for them that maybe one day they can join the European Super League, and it can finally start living up to the ideal that it was formed on back in when the sports switched to summer.
Speaking of that, like the big thing when Paris went defunct was, you started in the wrong place. The heartbeat of French rugby, the M62 of French rugby, is in the south, southeast, southwest, where Toulouse and Perpignan are. And again, another criticism levelled at Toronto is, well, one of them was, they've not worked their way up. They had a load of money to do it, but that's by the by, they worked their way up in the divisions, really. Toulouse have done that as well. They've worked their way up, but Toulouse have got that pathway. They've got young French people. The pathway's there. The production line's there. It's where everyone plays rugby first and foremost, whether it's league or union. But there's so many players that do play rugby league down there, and they've got that there. So personally, I think Toulouse deserve it. Really, I wouldn't mind London going up as well. But yeah, I think the other teams there, York, I think it's a bit too early for them. really, because I don't think they've got the fan base or the infrastructure to support a Super League team right now. The new stadium looks brilliant from all intents and purposes, and James Ford and the team up there are doing a really, really good job. I think it's just come a little bit too early. Brutally honest, Halifax aren't ready yet, but as we said, we've got to test the water out. We've got to see where the land lies and that sort of thing. Bradford, nowhere near. And Lee, too temperamental. They're hot or cold. They might learn the lesson from last time by spunking a load of money on journeyman Australians, really, but it's bad. Derek Beaumont can be interested one day and then go on a Twitter rant the next day, so it's far too unpredictable, really. But yeah, it's an unfortunate situation, but hopefully some good comes out of it. And how good would it be if it did kind of like the touch paper? We've said in podcasts before, 2021 is the most important year in rugby league since its inception, or at least since 1996, in terms of the World Cup coming there. How good would it be to start off the year having Toulouse up there? Toulouse, at least 2 South French derbies where more than just M62 corridor watching Sky Sports can watch it. Yeah. And that transmits all around Europe and it builds up that momentum for the World Cup. I think that'd be something special, really. But that is not in our hands. That is in the hands of the power brokers that are Super League and the chairman and all that sort of jazz. Do we know when that decision can be made?
I've not heard much. What do you make of the administrators' handling of the whole situation?
Shambles. Absolute shambles, really. Part of it's not their own fault because, as I say, we're in a worldwide pandemic and you can't prepare for that. And the way that David Argyle's actually ran the team, the finances, is nothing short of disgraceful. Yeah. The fact that players still haven't been paid is just absolutely shocking. Apart from that, a lot of it's kind of been cloak and dagger, really, because you see like lots of rumours that the presentation was done in the back of someone's car and stuff like that. They didn't mention certain stuff. It needs to be laid out for the public to see, right, this is what was done, this is why we rejected it, and then people might have a bit more sympathy and a bit more relatability about it. At the moment, it's a bit too cloak and dagger. It looks from the outside looking in that it's just a power grab from the Super League saying, no, we never wanted you in the first place, get out, we don't want you anymore, we want more money, really. But
yeah, it shows a lack of due diligence as well, from when the RFL accepted Toronto's bid to actually join the league structure, that there wasn't any research done about. I mean, I read somewhere saying that it's not commercially viable to have a professional sports team in North America. Well, that's obviously ridiculous. It's the biggest sporting market in the world and everything. So yeah. I just question the fact that they've turned around and done it now. They said they laid down everything in front of them. They always had their hand tied behind the back, and then they didn't take any Sky money. They were paying for everyone to go out there. Yeah, it's a hell of a long way, and the money starts to add up. But the way that they went about it, they could have saved everyone a lot of hassle and said, look, you have to do what some of these other expansion teams are. You have to play in League One for 3 years with no chance of getting promoted to build your structure. Not, obviously when they applied, they wanted to go straight into Super League. That wasn't going to happen. So yeah. I just feel that there wasn't enough research done in the beginning, and if there was, to then turn around and just turn their back on them as soon as they've had the first sign of trouble in a worldwide pandemic, which is nobody's fault. It just seems a bit crazy to me.
And it adds fuel to the fire that Rugby League is just an M62 corridor sport. It's just for the old boys club. Like a lot of criticism thrown at Rugby Union is it's all for the old boys and that sort of thing. Same Rugby League. It's all for the small pit villages and all that sort of. I hate when people use those sort of terms, but it adds fuel to the fire to it. And like again, I don't want to keep banging the drum. I've been out there. It was amazing. It is like you say, Rick, and you're massive into your American sports. The market is there. North Americans, whether it's Canadian, American, Mexican, or whoever, love live sport. They will get behind their team to watch it. It was ready-made there. And you see it in the NFL. Teams will fly thousands of miles across because America's such a huge country and do it. I know that our good friend Matt Shaw said in a previous podcast that we're so entitled that we must go to every game and stuff like that, and that sort of thing. We don't have to. If we're prepared to take that chance and make it work and stuff like that, that's where the broadcast deal comes in. Yeah, we'll come to our home games and that, and obviously we're going to go to like Wigan or Hull and that, or even London or Toulouse, that sort of thing. But obviously, you can't afford to go to Toronto all the time, but that's where the broadcast deal comes in.
Yeah.
But that's where you watch it on telly and stuff like that, and that's where it comes in. I just think it's very, very short-sighted, and we don't necessarily know the reasons, and they've been kept very, very quiet about, or secret, or whatever you want to use it about it. But yeah, it's a shame, really. It is a shame. You can't blame people for wanting to have a go at something. Someone completely outside the sport, putting a load of money in and trying to do something new and trying to break new ground for Rugby League, which needs to happen. But unfortunately, it's the case there. But as I say, it could be to our advantage, it could be to a load of clubs' advantage. That is by the by. We've got to show that ambition. Speaking of ambitions, we do have new
add to a point there. That
you can.
One thing Rugby League's been crying out for years is new fans, and then we finally managed to generate however many thousand fans in Canada. And look at the way that Perez even got involved in Rugby League and decided to set up the Wolfpack. He was sat at home watching a game, it came on, and a proper derby game, and was enthralled by it and just got into the sport overnight. And you know, again, we've been crying out for fans for years, and when we finally get them, we do everything we can to turn our backs on them. And those people will probably never watch, you know, it'll leave a sour taste in the mouth, and those people will probably never watch the sport again. So not only have we not got another 10,000 fans, we've probably got another 10,000 enemies now.
Yeah, it's a crying shame, really. And hopefully with Ottawa doing what they're doing, it might build some bridges. We don't know, but we'll see when that transpires. If we get back to rugby, whatever framework that is, we don't know yet. But speaking of ambition, like I said before, we've got loads of new signings. We've got loads, absolutely loads to talk about. First and foremost, let's give some limelight to the new boy. Let's say the new boy is a local lad, Zach McComb. Please correct us if you are listening.
I think it's McComb.
McComb. Right, we'll go with McComb, and if it is wrong, apologies. It's Rick's fault. Yes, Zach McComb, centre, signed originally a Siddle lad. He's gone through the university. I think he played England students, I believe, with Woodburn Hall. Yeah. And started off his professional career with Oldham. Got promoted with Oldham last year, then signed for Sheffield. Was doing all right for Sheffield, and obviously the season stopped. But decent signing again of a team full of Fax lads. Can't complain about that. And it obviously, like we've said before, it could be a young player, kind of like a rough diamond that Grix could possibly mould into something special, really.
Yeah, he's signing for 2 years as well, so that obviously gives him a bit of stability that he knows that he'll be here for the duration. He actually started in our reserves, you know. He was in our reserve grade structure. Didn't obviously make the cut that time. We had plenty of depth for that position, and he decided rather than just obviously being lost to the game that he went back to Siddle and played first team rugby at Siddle, which is great to be able to have that standard of Conference League club right on your doorstep. And then he said Gaz Greenwood down at Siddle said to him that he should give it another crack at semi-pro, and obviously went and won a grand final with Oldham and got a championship move, and now he's back at Fax. So depending on when people are listening to this, we did an interview with Zach, and he would just say, you know, it's one of his ambitions that he's had since he was a kid watching on the terraces like we all were, to play for your hometown club, to call that pitch your home pitch is special, isn't it? So yeah, I like it. It's an optimistic signing for me. I like the fact that a young lad who's keen to learn and, like you said, he's raw and can be moulded into something better. So believing in Grix's man management skills, I think he can improve him. And a centre with speed, if he can catch them past the ball, we'll be laughing. Exactly,
and like we've got potentially two class centres in Worthington and McComb, but also you've got Woodburn Hall, you've got McGrath can play centre there. Well, he's in Saltonstall, Barber. Yeah. Oh, let's jump the gun. Let's mention Ed Barber as well. No. I hear Ed Barber. Yeah, I'm glad he's re-signed again. Utility player again. We mention all the bloody time about jack of all trades, master of none, but he's so effective and also is a character and could well be a leader as well, because obviously the likes of Morel and Tyra have left. Having a guy like Ed Barber there who's been with us, is it like somewhat daft, like 8 years he's been with us now?
I think he joined in 2015 when we made the first eight.
Right.
He joined as a trialist.
He's been here a long while. It's one of our longest serving players, which is daft. And again, you mentioned the kind of roadmap for a player to get to us. Obviously, McComb had a bit of a back and forth journey in terms of towards and then to Siddle and that sort of thing. We've had Chester Butler do that, but also Ed Barber. He came from, was it Huddersfield YMCA? Yeah, so and he's done an amazing job for us. Obviously, been a bit daft on social media, and that's been sorted.
Naughty boy.
Haven't we all been naughty on social media? It's not,
you can't excuse what he said. For anyone that don't know, it's not. I don't think it's worth repeating on here. But he's been a man. He's taken responsibility for his actions, and he's looked to actively better himself. So you've got to respect him for that.
Yeah. Exactly, yeah, and it's been dealt with. At the end of the day, it's been dealt with. It's been done. What's happened. He's looking forward now, and he's signed back with the Fax, and I'm chuffed to bits with that because he's a great player, and he can fill in a lot of positions. Really, personally, I think his best position is second row. I know a lot of people think he's better at centre, but I think in second row he can do a lot more work in the middle because he's a big lad and he's got that talent there. And as I say, it can complement the wider players better being a bit further in and also help out in the middle there as well. But he's one of those, like we said before, he'll run his blood to water for Halifax, and you can never ever fault his commitment. And yeah, I'm chuffed to bits at his side.
He's a surprisingly, I mean, he's very skillful as well. That's one thing that he don't get a lot of credit for. If you look at some of his contributions to the team over the years, some of his just natural ability and raw skill is outstanding. He's top class level, you know. So yeah, if he can kick on again and be a leader in that group and everything that we want him to be, it could be a real, bit of a secret weapon for us this year.
For sure. Another old Ed that's re-signed is Scott Griggs, and again, we need experience in that, especially in that back line as well. And how much he plays, we don't know yet. But like we said with other players, and like when we had kiss of death for us, having Tyra and Morel on the podcast, we mentioned about all the players and that, and this time away is giving the body time to rest, which they've never had before really. And Scott Griggs has had that. Obviously, he came in from the cold kind of thing. He weren't playing Huddersfield. He was mainly doing a coaching role. Answered the call from little brother, come and help me out here, and he did. He's done well. Can't fault his commitment, but he's signed, and I'm chuffed he has, because even if he doesn't necessarily play that much, he's just a presence there, and he's a leader in that group, and he'll be such a good mentor to a lot of players in that changing room, really.
Absolutely. Very professional player, isn't he? I think at times he was probably guilty over the last couple of years of not having the players around him that could sort of keep up with his sort of creativity with ball in hand. So I think that's been assessed and that's been fixed. So I think we might see the best of him this year. Good point about him having the rest as well, because he's put his body on the line many a time, so I think he'll feel miles better for that. But obviously he's coming as assistant coach as well, so he's not just playing. He does help the young lads out, and I think his experience is invaluable. He scored 150 career tries and played 400 plus games and whatever. And I think the thing that stood out to me when I've spoken about him is everyone talks about his preparation. He's just so meticulous, and his good habits rub off on others. So yeah, again, good player to have in the ranks. Depending on how, don't know if is he going to be the starting fullback. Have we got better options? Maybe. But I mean, he'll have to show it in pre-season. Nothing's a given. But again, I'm just glad to have him with us again.
Yeah, definitely. As I say, he's a useful guy to have, and if he isn't an automatic starter or anything like that, he'll certainly cover for injuries, because again, like we mentioned about Barber, he can cover a few positions. He can cover fullback, halfback, all that sort of position there. So hopefully don't come to that in terms of he is. first choice, but he's definitely a good player to have around the changing rooms and stuff like that. We'll mention a couple of youngsters, so they've gone from one end of the spectrum to the other. We've had Fraser Stroud and Oliver Waite, who have signed as well. Again, not a lot of people might not necessarily know about them. They've not had not much first team action. They were part of our reserve team, which obviously got discontinued last year. Decent signings. Oliver Waite, Siddle player who went to Wigan and then found his way back here. And Fraser Stroud is a Welshman, isn't he?
That's right.
I believe.
A lot of natural ability in Stroud as well. We saw him play for the reserves in the 1895 Cup game, and it looked like he certainly had something, didn't he? So good to keep him around, let him develop.
Yeah, he impressed me every time I saw him. Like I saw a few reserve games the way he played, and yeah, he looks to be a really classy, kind of elegant player. Really, he's not going to win any 100-meter races anytime soon, but he's got those skills that he needs an halfback. Really, looks like he's got one of those things. And Henry Paul used to have it for Bradford, where it looked like he's got so much time on the ball. Like he's really, really kind of. It looks like he's really slow or whatever. And Paul Cook reminded me of that as well. But he has so much time on it. It reminds me of that, and it may not necessarily be an automatic starter, but he'd be a good squad player to have. And obviously, we've got to trust Grix. Grix must see something in these players, whether it's old heads like his brother, and players that we'll get on into a minute, or like Barber. Or youngsters like Waite or Stroud, who are a bit green, or are a bit rough, but obviously see something in them to want to sign him for him. Because, as I say, like you've obviously spoken to him loads, Rick. He's not going to take any prisoners. He's a coach who wants to cut his teeth, and this is his team now. It's not a Richard Marshall team now. He's had that ability to go, right, I want him, them going. I want these players new as well. So hopefully we get to see quite a bit of these two.
Yeah, he seems to be signing these young, hungry lads that, like you say, can sort of get his ideas through to. So yeah, you've got to give them the chance. Like you say, everyone will get a fair shake of the whip during pre-season. Who knows if we're playing in friendlies or not? Maybe that's a story for another podcast. But Ollie Waite, the one that came from Wigan, was touted for really big things. Stood out at junior level, played at the highest level for England and all that. So maybe needs to bulk himself up a bit like the Twins did. We had him sort of on the fringes of the squad. They'd get games here and there, but it's a development year, I think, for those two for sure.
Yeah, and speaking of the Twins, Dave re-signed as well.
Oh, brilliant! Everyone's sticking around for the party. I love it.
True, and again, this is the unofficial Davis Twins appreciation podcast. Is this? We love the guys. They're brilliant. Whenever they give them the chance, I don't think they'll let us down. And Curtis Davis is potentially a really, really good. He's like a Brandon Moore Mark II, really. Is Curtis Davis, and Connor Davis again just don't let us down. They've got utility, but he especially has got utility value. He can play all over the pack if he wanted to. But once again, Grix has seen something in them to keep him at Halifax, and they seem to be a good presence in the changing room there as well. So
gritty players, those two. Gritty players, they do the hard stuff. They have the perfect attitude of just coming in and wanting to get better every day. They punch above their weight. I've seen Connor absolutely beasting, props twice his size with perfect technique. That again, Welsh internationals in a World Cup year, always a good thing to have. So yeah, I think that's a bit of a feather in the cap for the supporters trust and all the fans that kept the reserves going, that we are seeing the fruit of those coming through, even though it might not be a thing at the minute. It might be in the future, who knows? But they're certainly two of the gems that we got from that system.
For sure, yeah. And then the last of the re-signings is Kevin Leroy. Now,
Leroy,
I think it's fair to say that. Yeah, I think it's fair to say that he does polarise opinion a little bit. But personally, I think it's a great re-signing. He obviously wants to play for us, and he said that he loves it down at the club. And maybe he's going to have that little bit of guidance from Grix in terms of where he wants to play. Because personally speaking, with Leroy, he's got. I don't want to be too harsh on him. When he does his job right down the middle, He's brilliant. He's really, really destructive, and he can do a really good job. When he tries to be a little bit too clever, wide running and that sort of thing, that's where it falls down. And he does concede far too many penalties, probably because he's so passionate and enthusiastic about playing, really. If Griggs can kind of just rein him in and say, look, this is your job, you do this, I think we've got a really, really, really good player there, because he's been there and done it. He's played in cup finals, he's played in Super League, he's been there and done it.
International,
Yeah, he's French international as well, and he'll want to do well going into a World Cup year as well. And again, he's a personality. And I know that it was mentioned in Griggs' video that's been done today in terms of McCoon that we're losing a lot of personalities in that changing room. Leroy has bundles of personality there, so hopefully, and then plus he's kept himself fit as well. He's if you follow him on social media and stuff, he's been keeping really, really fit and keeping himself in shape and that, and it looks like he's ready to go straight away. So I think it's a pretty shrewd signing, is that?
Yeah, we're going to come on to that. I think the lockdown's given Kev time to reflect on his career and appreciate how privileged he is to be a professional sportsman. And I think all the lads are sort of have taken even training for granted, even the hill sessions and stuff like that. But yeah, in regards to Leroy, he's making all the right noises. He wants to be here. He wants to improve, even at the late stage of his career. So yeah, I think, like you say, he's very polarising. The Fax fans appreciate lads that work hard, and I think if he gets his head down and works for the team, I think he can win everyone over, regardless of opinion.
Very, very true. And last but certainly not least, we've got a departure, a temporary departure. Brandon Moore going to Huddersfield on loan for the rest of the season, and we already knew what a good player he was, but it's so good to see that everyone else is seeing that. How many tackles has he done in the last 3 games? Something like 300 or something.
I mean, it's like Baby Yoda out there, isn't he? It's just been this secret weapon that we knew all along is the new hope, isn't it? But yeah, everyone knew he's that type of player. He's just going to put it out there no matter what the shirt he's wearing, and just he's always had the dream of playing there as well. I'm glad he got to do that, but I think everyone's been saying he's going to come back to us a better player. I think he will come back to us.
Of course he will.
I think he's realised how appreciated he is around the club. He was the star man last year, 2019, and best player in the team. He's the kind of guy you can build your team around. And to see him step up from Super League and then come top of all Huddersfield's fitness testing and bleep test and all that, he's the fittest member of their squad and all. I think the other thing it showed me as well is that Super League and the Championship, a lot of the players, a lot of the top clubs, there isn't a massive difference in quality between the type of player.
No.
There are a lot of Championship players that can step up and play Super League. So yeah, I'm not surprised he's gone as well. I mean, he's made 5,000 tackles a game, and I'm sure he'll make 5,000 more when he comes back to Fax.
Of course, and like I've said to you as well, I didn't really see that in his game. Really, he's like when I think of Brandon Moore, I think obviously he works hard and stuff, but I think of the sniping runs he makes from dummy half and being a really good support player in that. Maybe he's not. Maybe Luke Robinson Huddersfield don't want him to play like that, but he's just worked and worked and worked, and he's getting the recognition that he deserves for that. He'll come back to Halifax. I'm deadly sure of that, because Huddersfield are going different ways with their ruckers, and they've got Adam O'Brien, and then obviously I think they're signing James Cunningham from Toronto as well. So they're going their own way about it. But Brandon Moore, He's an Halifax player first and foremost, and I can't wait to see him back in a blue and white. It seems weird seeing him in claret and gold. It seems very, very weird seeing him in claret and gold. But he looks at home in Super League. That's one thing I will say. He does not look out of place at all. And he's still working. He's still grafting.
Is he really?
Still working up on those roofs. Yep, he is, which is outstanding. It's amazing. It's amazing the job that he's done. And all power to you, man. It's an amazing thing that you're doing at the moment. But please come back to the blue and white. Please wear that shirt. Well, Great Britain, wear that Great Britain shirt there, but the other one, I can't get my angles right, but yeah. And that is a really good way to end the first part of the podcast, by me not knowing left and right. Please, thank you for listening, and we'll see you on the other side. Hello, welcome to the second part of Talking the Facts of Life, proudly sponsored by Clips Energy. As always, just if you need your boiler sorted, Get into them. Get on the website. Give them a bell. Whatever you want to do. Send a carrier pigeon. They'll help you out. They'll help the club. Help them out. They'll help you get nice and toasty warm this winter. We're talking about a lot of stuff. I've got back to a packed show this week. This 6-week job since we've last done it. Nothing could have beaten the last podcast. Superstar Dave Larder. I was in my element. It's a bit of a come down, really. I needed the 6 weeks to get myself calm after that such excitement. But in that time, we've had a cup final. Very, very weird.
Yeah,
challenge.
We're a bit slow on the uptake of news, aren't we? Really.
Yeah, if we did it after every little thing, we'd have like 10-minute podcast. What do you think it is? Oh, it's all right. Yeah, there we go. Right, see you later. Wait till we can actually talk about these sort of things. But yeah, cup final. First of all, great game.
Yeah,
absolutely brilliant game.
Classic
For those
cup
who've
final.
forgotten, it was a classic cup final. They've done classic cup finals this year and stuff like that, and I think this will be part of future ones. Luke Gale smashed the drop goal. So it's still a way to win a cup final, isn't it? A drop goal. Was it 1918 as well that they won, or was it 1716? I can't remember the score.
Something like that. Then. But
anyway,
yeah, you could. It's sort of in Luke Gale's contract, isn't it, to win all these big games, losing his boot, to drop one over. But yeah, I thought Salford really struggled to cope with Leeds' defence in the early sort of 20 minutes of the game. They were kicking from their own 20 pretty much every set for 8 or 9 sets in a row. It was so ferocious, and fair play, at least they turned up ready to play. The kind of big club used to playing on the big stage a lot, and obviously Salford had the grand final the year before. So I thought, would it be the adage of you have to lose one to win one, and they'd lose the grand final but win the cup final? It wasn't meant to be, but yeah, I think that game was won and lost in the first 20 minutes just because Leeds took so much energy out of Salford and were so smart with the ball that I don't think they ever really recovered.
I'll disagree with that. I think Salford were on the way to win. If Callum Watkins could have found that pass, if Callum Watkins has been so unlucky with his clutch moments in the last couple of years,
yeah.
If his pass had found Reece Williams, Salford would win the cup. And they've got the way into get. First half of the Leeds masterclass, and like we saw in the semi-final, Luke Gale's boot was, and Richie Myler as well. Their boots were just brilliant. But again, Leeds could have scored. I think Richie Myler went to step the fullback or something and got caught by Niall Evalds or whatever. It was such an end-to-end cup fight. It was so intriguing, and it was exciting as well, which was really good. An empty stadium with all that throws up, and I thought they did really well. Lizzie Jones did her version of Abide With Me, which was emotional to say the least. She sung the national anthem there as well. Personally, I want Salford to win. I think the due a win, and the job that Ian Watson's done, it would have topped it off for him. But Leeds have just surpassed all expectations, really, and I'm so chuffed for Richard Agar. He's been just knocked to knots so unfairly for years. He was took Hull to a cup final, but I just remember mourning like coat about him. Went to Warrington, and somehow he got blamed for being rubbish there under Tony Smith, and that didn't work out at Wakefield. He coached France for a little while, and obviously went to Leeds last year and lost against Bradford, and that was the lowest of the low, and they were crying out for him, and the two figures that have brought Leeds back are the ones where they couldn't wait to get rid of him. Richard Agar, no one wanted him there, and Richie Myler. Who'd have thought it? Richie Myler, the fullback, Lance Todd Trophy winner. He had an amazing game as well. Yeah,
we didn't have that one on the bingo card. But you mentioned it was end to end. I think that the one thing that stood out, even though they were on the losing side, is that Salford had arguably one of the best cup final tries that you're likely to see. When they counter-attacked from deep, and the audacity on the first play to keep the ball alive. And I think it was Evalds managed to find Williams, and they were at the other end of the field before anyone really knew what was happening.
Exactly, yeah.
That summed the game up for me. But yeah, I think you mentioned Richard Agar. I think a lot of Leeds fans will be in the words after that. To win the Challenge Cup in the craziest year of all, this one will be remembered, and it'll be remembered for being a classic game, as we said. But I'm really glad as well that Ian Watson obviously has done a fantastic job, got some interest there from, I think, Hull FC, and turned him down to stay with Salford, which is which is great. So I think he's earned the right to have that loyalty, and they've earned the right to have the loyalty from him. So yeah, will it be a case of will Salford do a bit of a cast and have a drop off now? I think the losing Evalds to cast next year is a massive part of their attack, isn't he? So I just don't put this in the glory days. Some of them I do like Salford as a club. I think they acquitted themselves really well throughout this whole period, and obviously I think they played a game the other week. They played every 3 days for 6 weeks or something crazy like that. So
yeah,
they've done a cup final in the middle.
They've come
really
into games last minute as well, haven't they? To fulfil fixtures and that. They've just got to keep Ian Watson. They've just got to. They've got to give him the money to spend to do that. Whether they've got that, I don't know. But when you've got arguably the best coach in the country coaching your team and the job that he's done in the last couple of years, what other club would sell two of the best players, arguably, in Hastings and Bibby?
He was man of steel when he went, wasn't he? I think.
Yeah, he's man of steel at the moment. Is Hastings, and then get to another final. He's just crazy, really.
Yeah.
But he's done an amazing job, and fair on him for rejecting Hull. The way that Pearson treated Radford, I don't know why anyone would go there, but it just shows that the so-called big teams can't blow the little, call Salford a little team, but they're not the most fashionable team. But Watson's building a project there, and he needs that support to do it. And I think they'll do all right. Are they going to win the league next year? I don't think so. But strange things have happened. No one thought they'd get to grand final last year either. So they're building something special, I think, and they've got some good youngsters coming through as well. And hopefully, he gets given a bit of dosh to play in the transfer market, to bring players in, because I tell you what, there'll be some players who'll want to go and play for Ian Watson. That's the thing.
Yeah,
he's such a likeable bloke, and he does the best post-match interviews, apart from Jake Mammo. Jake Mammo does the best post-match interviews. I don't know if it's on YouTube or Twitter, but just have a look for it. It's worth it.
I think he got randomly drug tested the day after that, didn't he? I think Salford have pretty much won a lot of the hearts and minds of the neutral rugby league fan over the last. They
become everyone's second team, haven't they?
Well, so I think they'll benefit from this for a long time. It's a shame. I think, like I say, we're agreed. Everyone that were a Leeds fan wanted them to win, and congratulations to Leeds for winning. But it was just a great game. I think the more people and anyone turning on to watch rugby for the first time that day wouldn't have been disappointed. So yeah,
I think it was the highest rated cup final they've had for donkey's years as well. I think something like 5 million people watched it, something like that. I'm not too sure. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm sure they had the highest cup final figures for a long time, which is great. It's just a shame there weren't any fans there, because that's the thing. I'm just good. Like, obviously Leeds fans have been there for quite a few years, but Salford fans. Fair enough, they had a grand final last year, but Wembley's Wembley, and I'm gutted for those fans not to be able to go down there. I know there were a few, quite a lot of people were in and around the stadium going down there, because obviously, because the thing about the cup final, it's a pilgrimage for everyone to go down, isn't it? Yeah. It's not just for the two teams there, and it's just a crying shame, really. But hopefully, this time next year, we'll have had a couple of finals there. And it's weird to have a cup final in October as well.
Yeah. It's weird to have a cup final and then go, all right, when's the grand final? Well, 5 weeks, 4 weeks, you know. Oh, really?
Yeah. Very, very strange. And speaking of grand final, it's the Super League playoff structure's all up in the air. It should have been top 4, is it top 5? Have they finalised on the 6 now?
I understand it's 6, yeah, but don't quote me on that.
It could change any
it's trying to find where's the information that's been put out. I think they're still working it out at the minute so they can secure grounds and everything. But yeah, I haven't seen anything about it. I've heard it sort of rumoured in newspapers and stuff. But where's the official article from? This is what's going to happen, and I've just not seen it.
Yeah, they've changed everything. They've moved from points in the game to win percentage and pros and cons of that, and then they said you got to play at least 15 games. Well, Catalan aren't going to play that, and whether that's fair or not, whether Catalan's going to even host any games at the moment because of what's going on, it's a shambles. It's not necessarily Super League's fault because again, none of it is really. But they've got to try and find status quo. Personally, I'd just say right, top 2 go to grand final. You do it. Finish first and second. You go for it. I think it's a bit daft having proper playoffs this year, really. But again, it's not for us to say. Is it?
I'm not too sure if part of the TV contract doesn't say that you have to have a specific playoff structure and whatnot. Anyway, so yeah, I like the fact. I like the top 5. It at least gives someone a bye week then. So if you do have the COVID problems, that's another thing that's been said. We've had so many games postponed and that for positives during the season. You get to the playoffs, you can't do that. You haven't got the weeks left to fit them in. So will they do a bubble thing? Maybe not, because Rugby League haven't got the money to put everyone up in a hotel for a month and keep them all away from the general public. But I hope there is playoffs. I'd rather see a playoff structure. I just think it'll generate excitement and it gives us something to watch. I want to watch more games, Mike.
Oh, true. More meaningful games. Personally, I've found Super League a little bit hard to watch recently because of the uncertainty of who's playing and B, who's actually going to play for them. Because, like, you go back to the cup final, Dan Sargentson, gutting for him to miss it for coronavirus and stuff. But again, you could have players who miss a grand final because of coronavirus and having to isolate and stuff. It's an awful problem to have, but again, what's the right scenario? There's pros and cons to everything, really.
Yeah.
If they're going to do a playoff, I think top 5 makes the most sense. But again, it's Catalans in there at the moment. They've played so many fewer games than the rest. Is it fair that they're in there? Who knows? It's such a weird scenario. It's one of those. It's Rugby League trying to make the best of a bad situation, really.
Absolutely. It'll be the first grand final, since they were invented in this country, that hasn't been played at Old Trafford as well. I don't think they've nailed the venue down yet, but I think most people will just be agreed.
It's at Hull Stadium.
Oh, fantastic!
Yeah, it's at Hull. Yeah, which it's an option. I don't think Hull are going to get to grand final, so I don't think there's any neutrality issues there. But they've said that they can do the stuff that they want to do at that kind of ground now.
Yeah, I think the main thing was always completing the season, wasn't it? And
yeah,
the administrators need a pat on the back, and the players more than anyone on the staff, for actually getting to this point where it looks like we could complete the season. In March when it all stopped, and then when I think it came back in sort of June, July, was it? And they managed to get the games going again. Did we ever think we'd be at this point in November, almost finishing the season without it being wiped out again? Who knows? So yeah, I think as long as they complete the season, that's what they set out to do all along. And I'll be delighted to watch a grand final. I'll go see my granddad and watch it. It'll be brilliant.
Of course, yeah. No, I'm looking forward to that. And one of the teams hoping to be there, Wigan. Now they're going through.
Wigan.
They're taking the brave step of rebranding. Now, I saw the early mock-ups of this new badge and it looked terrible, I've got to say, but it looks all right actually from what they've done. They've not changed the name; it's still Wigan Warriors, but they just incorporated it into a new crest where they've got a warrior in there, and it looks a lot more clean cut, that sort of thing there. But they've also released their shirt for next year, which looks like a Salford shirt, really, in all honesty, but. Again, it's one of these things you've got to make. You've got to make these changes sometimes. You've got to make these brave steps, and it's not necessarily for the die-hard fans who will buy the shirts or go every single week. It's for potential new fans, sponsors, players, that sort of thing there. And fair on them for taking that step, really.
Absolutely, they've been dropping numbers. I think if you read the report that went along with the rebrand announcement, they've been having dropping numbers of supporters over a long period of time, over the course of about 5 years. I think this is sort of something that they've felt absolutely necessary. It's one of those. Everyone knows the Wigan badge in Wigan. I've seen one of a guy saying it was painted on his living room wall, and they looked at it every morning growing up as kids. But that, I mean. I've got ours here. It's hard to market to a wider audience, when you've got everyone that's got when one's tigers and one's rhinos and one's giants, to then have that, it didn't make a lot of sense. So I do understand why they've done it. They used the figures to back it up. You know, even when they won the league, was probably one of the lowest average attendance for however many years. So, you know, it wasn't a case of them not being successful on the field that spurred them to do this.
Yeah.
I think it'll be one of those things. It's going to divide people. People, you know, their sort of motto is ancient and loyal, isn't it? And they've got massive traditions dating back a long time. But I think it'll be one of those things that, if it is a success, they'll be asking themselves why they didn't do it 10 years ago. And I'm massively in favour. Like you say, I'm a fan of American sports, and the one thing that you notice there is their brands are just absolutely spot on. The nicknames, you know, even all the way down to the high school teams have all got their own brands that put some professional clubs to shame. And it's the future, it's the modern world, and it means more to kids to say, like I say, Tigers, Rhinos, whatever, than it does just to say RLFC. It doesn't mean anything anymore. So, yep, smart move.
Yeah.
And I think it looks all right. I'm not a fan of the shirt, but I think the badge, it looked good.
It looks all right. Yeah, as I said, the early mock-up looked awful, but the actual like proper product kind of thing, it looks all right. And you hit the nail on the head about it in terms of like marketing to people. They're not doing this for the people. It divides opinion for people who they're not trying to get an opinion from. They want the opinion from outside people. They want it from them. Rugby League fans will, if it's not them, they'll take the mick and all that sort of stuff already. And Wigan fans will say, "Oh, because we've had it for years and years and years, it's got to stay like that." It doesn't. And like the point that you made about the painting on the living room wall, the guy that's done it, the guy who's been head of this rebranding, is a lifelong Wigan fan, and he said that in his house growing up was that Wigan crest and that. And the thing that kind of to me is that you can see the badge behind you. Then people who are watching on Facebook or YouTube and that, it's hard to reproduce it on a smaller scale. This way you'll lose all the detail of it. Ours is a beautiful crest. It's the most beautiful thing in the world. Is that a crest? Except the Lord keep the city. It's not a cat Blofeld, but it's difficult to kind of make out. Or like, if I'm looking at it now, and if people look at it, you can't necessarily make out what's what and that sort of thing. You won't be able to read the motto that we've got under there. Whereas now, Wigan badge is proper front and centre, big bold writing, Wigan Warrior, ancient and loyal, boom. And you've got a warrior there, so you know exactly who it's for, and that it just makes complete sense. You look at the badge I've got behind me. You've got the British Lion. You've got a British Lion, and then also the shirt that I've got here, which I'll just bring into view, with the old Halifax crest. I like that badge.
I do.
I think it's a pretty decent badge, is that? But hey ho, it's a new world we're going and.
Yeah, they've not turned their back on the crest, have they? You know, they've not turned around and said, "Look, this is the new crest. The old one's gone forever." They then understand that you have your all singing, all dancing new badge, but you can use your old historical one for your heritage side of things and really pay respect to your history. So it's the right decision. I think every club should always be looking to rebrand, and even if you stay with the same brand, you should always be looking what's out there in a modern world, because like I said, the numbers are falling, spectators and viewership and everything's online now, and to cut through you've got to have some razzmatazz about you, you've got to have some glitter and sparkles. So I agree, it's the right thing to do.
No, it looks good, and as I say, to do the business on the pitch, it's even better. Wigan are one of the anomalies. When they nearly went down in 2006, their crowds actually went up. Yeah. Where for a bottom of the team, the crowds went up, which is bonkers to think about. And then he said when they won the grand final, the crowds went down. It's very strange. It's a very strange place in Wigan anyway. They don't talk proper, but anyway, that's another story for another podcast. And lastly, before we go, it would be remiss of me not to mention the State of Origin, the best rugby league competition in the world. So good to see it back, because, as I say, there was doubts of it whether it was going to go on this year. They decided to put it on this time now instead of the Ashes, which in retrospect seems to be a very good decision. Played it in Adelaide, and Again, it's quite an expansionist podcast. Is this week? Adelaide, not necessarily a rugby league heartland, and one of the really good, the interesting point of views was they didn't know who the crowd were going to support. They didn't know whether it was going to be fairly neutral with no atmosphere, or whether it was going to be a pro-blue or pro-maroon. It was a pro-maroon crowd, and the boys on the pitch did the business. The Queenslander, the mighty Maroons, take a 1-0 lead.
Cheats filling with all your own fans. I don't know why any fan of the blue and white would not be back in the blues, but there we go. Horses for
certain players like Michael Egan, Martin Bella played for Queensland. And all my favourite players growing up, Alfie Langer, Wally Lewis, Mal Meninga, they're all Queenslanders. Yeah, he just can't beat them really. But yeah, and then you go further forward like Jonathan Thurston and Cameron Smith. They're just my heroes really.
Yeah, the Blues never had any decent players that ever played for them.
No, definitely not. Andrew Johnsu,
Freddie Fittler,
Greg Forimore,
But it's been a massive success, hasn't it? You know, obviously they've moved it to winter. I know it's only game one, but the fact that they are willing to take Origin out there and into new places has been good for them. They've already agreed as well, so for anyone worrying that this might be the norm and it's going to ruin the Rugby League calendar, they've already said that once they can next year, it will go back to mid-season again like it's always been. Yeah. So that's good news for rugby in this country. But you're right about that. It's the most ferocious. I always loved the fact that, you know, to explain to other people that you have, every game is played by the same rules, but you have one game where it's almost impossible to get sent off. It's like watching boxing your whole life, and then someone says, "Have you ever heard of cage fighting? Taekwondo, Thai kickboxing, or whatever?"
State of Origin is the one competition or the one like rugby league thing where my friends who only watch rugby union will watch, because A, it's so ferocious, and B, the skill level and the tries that are scored just on another level. And the game winning try by Xavier Coates was brilliant, and his post match interview was just all you want to see on a rugby player. His smiles as wide as Christmas Day, which is a good old pro rugby reference for those who know. But yeah, it's just great to see that level of rugby back, and we fall behind it somewhat. We don't necessarily have that competition, but again, that's another podcast topic for another day. That could be it. We could start with that next time. Do we bring back Yorkshire Origin? Do we do it East and West? What do we do? Do we bring back the Exiles? It's just something that we need to think about in this country, because Australia, by the time that they play international, they've had a brilliant NRL season, and they've also had a 3-game State of Origin series, which is practically an Australian trial series.
Well, they've always had it right, though, haven't they? Because they've always said, you know, if you outplay your opposite number, you're going to get the Australian shirt over him. So if that's not an incentive for anyone, I don't know what is. But yeah, you won't be delighting any of the other expansionists. Sorry, what you say?
State against state, mate against mate, and that's what it is. It's that competition that it breeds, and we come into international competitions undercut because we haven't had that. We've got Super League, which is fair enough, but nothing kind of extra. I know that Sean Wayne's trying to change that going into next year's World Cup, but it's only so many opportunities you can get, really. But if the Exiles don't come back, I'd be quite surprised, because that was a good experiment, actually. As I say, I'd love an Origin series to come back in this country, whether it's Yorkshire, Lancashire, I don't know. It's a weird one to put out there, but we need.
Why does it have to be based on where you're from? Why can we not have a trial game for the national team that's a bit like an All-Stars game? You know, where you pick.
Well, that's what they did.
And you know.
That's what New Zealand Rugby Union always used to do. They used to have a game called the Probables v the Possibles. And you have one coach who picked his team, which were the Probables, and then another coach who picked another team, the Possibles. That's how John Olomu got discovered, because he was the last minute replacing into one of those teams, and he scored a bucket load of tries, and we all know what happened then. But it's one of those, and to not try and derail it, it's just State of Origin is the ultimate for me. Obviously, the international World Cups are brilliant, but in terms of representative rugby league, it's the one, and it doesn't surprise me that for a generation, for the last 15, 20 years, a lot of players have thought State of Origin is the ultimate rather than a Kangaroos jumper, which is bonkers to think about. But when you actually watch it, it doesn't surprise you. And if you have got time, look on YouTube for some historical looks at it, because it's well worth your time, because some of the hits and some of the plays are just ridiculous. Is that? But hey ho, and I think the next game 2 is on Wednesday. So
we'll be back in the Blues again.
2-0.
Level the series. Let's go.
Although I wouldn't mind, actually. New South Wales win for a decider. I'll have that. I'll have that definitely. And that's all she wrote. Well, we'll leave it on that. Thank you very much, Rick, as always,
cheers, mate,
for recording, editing, all that sort of jazz. Thank you all for listening. Thanks for being patient with us while we actually think of stuff to say, for things to happen for us to talk about. But we've exhausted ourselves now. I'm ready for bed.
I think you'll be seeing more of us. I think there's some more big news coming up. So good things on the horizon.
Hopefully, you know where we are. If you want to come on, a topic and that sort of thing, I know that there's a couple of people that I know are wanting to come on to talk about some stuff. We'll get you on in an not too distant future. But until then, I've been Mike Haig, Ethan Rick Farrell. Thank you very much for listening, and up the fat.